Hey everybody, welcome to Always Bored, Never Boring, and good gravy boats would you look at that. It's issues 79 and 80 of Warhammer 40,000 Conquest magazine, the Partworks publication from Hachette Publishing in association with Games Workshop. And 79 and 80 are in fact the last issues from the series. There will be no more after this. So today is a little bit of a sad day really. Conquest magazine has been part of my channel since forever really. It's part of the bedrock around which I have built this channel, and now it is coming to an end. But I do have to admit that I also reached this point with a certain sense of relief, because I am really starting to accumulate a huge amount of plastic for Warhammer 40,000, and I really don't need a lot more at this moment. So yeah, I'm a little bit sad to see the end of it, but also I do feel like this is a good place to stop. I also feel like there's not really a lot more I can say about the magazine at this point. It has stepped us through an introduction to the world of Warhammer 40,000. It's introduced us to painting and modelling, and it's been pretty comprehensive. But let's take a look at these final two issues. As always, the magazines come with some kind of hobby-related products. Sometimes it's paints and brushes. In this case, we're looking at the two issues which together bring us all of the components necessary for building a magnavent walkway, which is part of the awesome Sector Mechanicus terrain that Games Workshop initially launched as part of Shadow War Armageddon. Let's take a look at those sprues. Check these out. These sprues are huge, and you get loads of bits of terrain. The way they've split it up, you do really need both magazines. You can make use of the components that come with one for making your own scratch-built terrain, or maybe modifying some bases for miniatures or whatever, but you really do need all three to be able to make the cool Sector Mechanicus terrain. Because the first frame has the walkways, this is the top section, and a few of the barriers. These things here, if we flip them over, these are actually connectors, because these terrain elements are incredibly modular. You can see on the reverse they have all these different holes marked out, and you can use these pegs to attach the elements together in various different ways. Here's the second frame, which has a few more walkways, some more barriers, some more of the connectors, and this awesome crane device, which that's the front section there, and then we have the back section. You actually hang it from underneath one of the walkways, and there's sort of a blast shield there as well, with some little computer control panels and whatnot. Incredibly detailed, and again just huge and chunky. Everything's so thick. And here is the third frame, which has the huge towering legs, a few other crane elements, little pipes and things that you can hang underneath the walkways for extra detailing, and ladders so that your miniatures can climb up onto the top of the walkways. 3 frames of glorious brown Games Workshop goodness across the 2 issues, more than I can fit into my camera shot. Enough to build quite a few configurations. The magazine will give you one way to assemble this, but you can go wild with it and do what you want really, because the Sector Mechanicus terrain is very modular. It's very easy to connect in different ways, and it also connects with all of the other Sector Mechanicus terrain we have received with the magazine. So all the pipes and everything else will all connect together and allow you to create battlefields that feel cohesive, that feel like everything on the table relates to each other in some way. And of course, terrain is the third player, so it's important to have some good terrain that will spice up your games and prevent them from turning into long-distance gunfights. So they're good kits, but what are they worth? is it good value to buy these 2 issues to get these frames? Well, in a previous issue of Warhammer 40,000 Conquest, we received half of an alchemite stack. And that frame is actually available with these 3 frames here as a kit called a galvanic magnavent. So the 3 frames we have here and that frame from previous issue all combine to create one set that you can buy at retail for £45. Now that previous kit, the alchemite stack, because it was half of a kit that you can buy for £30, I priced it at £15. If we take that £15 off of the cost of a galvanic magnavent, we're left with £30. So we can say the 3 frames we have here are worth £30. Issues are priced at $7.99 each, so you pay $15.98 for your 2 magazines to get £30 worth of stuff, which is a saving of £14 and 2 pence. And that cannot be bad, right? And of course, in addition to the frames, you also get 2 magazines. So let's take a look at those as well. First of all, we have issue 79, which starts as always with a little bit of fluff. We've got some stuff on Death Guard Defilers there. They sound friendly. And then a little bit on Defiler Weapons. And then a little bit on Soul Grinders. They also sound friendly. A bit on Plague Hulks. And then we are into talking about Slaanesh. Little bit of stuff on Slaanesh with a showcase of miniatures. All pretty standard, the sort of thing we've seen in this magazine a lot. And then a little bit on Land Speeder Storms with their top trump style ratings. Again, I said this in the previous video, but at this stage in the subscription, we're right at the very end. So the fluff sections of the magazines really do start to feel like a bit of a grab bag. It's got to that stage now where they fleshed out all the details of the Ultramarines and the Death Guard and other things they wanted to talk about, and now they're just dotting around, grabbing little bits of information about other stuff that you might be interested in, trying to perhaps catch your interest with something, so you can go, oh well, maybe I'll take a look at collecting something like this next. But that's it for our fluff, and we are into our how to build section. Now, of course, if you are buying this magazine week on week, when you get issue 79, you don't yet have all of the components to make the magnavent walkway. So you'll have to hold off actually building for another week. But as I'm a subscriber, I get my magazines in bulk batches once a month, so I got both of these magazines at the same time, so I could, if I so wished, immediately crack on and get this built. And we can see here they're showing you how to build a very specific layout, and they're showing you where to put the connectors to create that particular layout, but you don't have to. You can reconfigure it to suit your needs. And in fact, I already have quite a lot of this terrain from Shadow War Armageddon, the Blink and You'll Miss It box set that Games Workshop released a few years back. And what I did was I did sub-assemblies. So I connected certain elements together and glued them in enough sections so that they would be sturdy and robust on their own. But then I left other sections unattached so that I could reconfigure them as I wished. It just takes a little bit of thought about where you're going to put connectors so that you can make the best use of them. I think for general purposes, the layout that they give you here, it's quite a useful one. It creates sort of like a centerpiece that you can put in the middle of your battlefield. And show you putting the crane and things on the bottom here, and the other little details and the ladders. Again, I left my ladders unattached so that when I've created my battlefield, I can just plug the ladders in where I want them. And that's it. That's your finished assembly. If you look at the galvanic magnavent set, the alchemite stack is sort of in the middle of it. So the alchemite stack that we already have from a previous issue, you can combine it here and use it as a central towering structure. But that's it, no painting. I assume painting will be covered in our final issue. We are straight into some more rule stuff. It's talking about the 3 ways to play. Okay, so we're covering the fact that you can play narratively, which is how they've done it in the magazine so far, or you can do open play or matched play. They're just giving you an overview of those different ways that you can enjoy Warhammer. I'm very much a narrative gamer. I like having scenarios that create stories. And then we have Terror from the Deep. Oh, just noticed down here they've mentioned tournaments. I don't do tournaments. I'm far too casual for tournaments. And I tend to stay at home too much for tournaments. Terror from the Deep is a new scenario. We've got some new rules down here. You can use your command points for the Endless Pox and Avenge the Fallen. And then we have our layouts. We've got 3 Ultramarine objectives down here. Each player selects a battle-forged army with a maximum power rating of 60. The Death Guard must include Typhus and at least 20 Poxwalkers. Each objective controlled at the end of the game is 2 victory points. A player controls an objective if they have more models within 3 inches. Slay the enemy warlord for a victory point. Slay enemy units for a victory point each. Game lasts 5 battle rounds. So pretty much a straight up pitched battle. They're not making use of the magnavent walkway just yet because you haven't got all of the components to assemble it. But I should imagine the very last scenario in the magazine will include that walkway. But that's it. That's the end of this particular issue. We're going to go straight on to issue 80. And here it is, the final frontier, the end of all of things, the final conquest. And we've got a little bit on Sisters of Battle, just in case you thought they were going to get forgotten. So a little bit of background on Sisters of Battle and a look at their war gear. The Sisters of Battle, when it comes to the miniatures line, I'm very much in 2 minds about them. Some of them I absolutely love, the actual foot soldiers, but the vehicles, and we have an example here. This is the Exorcist tank. I do not like that at all. I mean, I appreciate it is overblown and dialed up to 11 on purpose. It's part of the design aesthetic that they went for. But it just looks silly to me. I appreciate there are lots of people who absolutely love the Sisters of Battle and will probably think that is awesome. But for me personally, I'm not a fan of that. But looking at some of these other miniatures, look how fantastic they are. So much character, so much detail. Really, really good miniatures. But that's it. That's everything on the Sisters of Battle because we've got some painting to do. And I actually have some Sector Mechanicus terrain that needs painting up. It's been blasted with silver spray just so that I could use it on the tabletop without it looking horrible. But I'm going to actually go through this painting guide and paint them up using this system just to see how it comes out. Because they've started by just painting everything with lead belcher. And like I say, I have spray primed everything silver, which kind of saves me a long, boring chore. And they've just slathered the whole thing with Nuln Oil. Get yourself an extra pot of Nuln Oil, because you'll need it if you're going to slather this whole thing with it, because that's a lot of terrain to cover. Then they've done Rakarth Flesh on the walkways. And then Retributed Gold or Retributed Armor on some of the detailing. It's all pretty straightforward. The painting guides have always been relatively straightforward, but have got really good results by the end. And I do really like the way that they break out the pictures and show the detailing. They've been very good. They've been consistently good. Painting the icons, adding your red. Bit of Agrax Earthshade, because it's Agrax Earthshade and you should never leave home without it. And then dry brushing, final detailing, and that should be it. That's it, done. Now that's pretty good. I like that. I like that final look. Like I say, I'm going to give that a shot with my own terrain. And look, it says here, painting your models brings them to life. This is something that could be a concern for anybody who's got some chaos stuff to paint up. Might want to hold back on that demon prince for a while, maybe. Oh, of course, rules. Rules for using the magnavent walkway as a piece of terrain. They've got it set up on one of the battle mats there. They're talking about clambering up the ladders and how they work in terms of cover. Peekaboo, Mr. Dreadnought, I see you. And then we are into Plague Planet. This is the final mission. This is it. This is what it's all been leading up to. The final war for Korvon II. The big final showdown. We've got one of these pull-out bits of terrain. They've done this in previous issues where you just remove this, stick it on your battlefield. Looks like they're sticking it in the center. Your magnavent walkway will be over here, and then this thing is going right in the center of the board. This is actually a really clever way of adding big objective elements or narrative focus for the missions without having to provide you with miniatures and things. You might want to use a little bit of white tack or something just to secure it in place so it doesn't float around on the table while you're playing. But yeah, they've done that a few times and it's quite a cool idea. We've got new stratagems, and the end is nigh, our final mission. It says the air is thick with the stench of the warp, and the Death Guard's Noctilith crown glows with unholy power. Captain Acheron and his forces must steel themselves against the foul powers of Nurgle and destroy the Death Guard's works before it is far too late. So we've got this big thing, this thing that there is obviously the Noctilith crown. Roll off, starting with the winner, take turns placing battle mats. Place the crown in the center, place terrain in an agreed manner. Don't put terrain on the crown. Pick your armies up to power rating of 60. And then it says at the end of the battle, add up the power ratings of all the Space Marine players' units that are within 6 inches of the warp portal and all the Death Guard players' units that are within 6 inches of the warp portal. The player with the higher result wins the game. If the score is tied, the defender wins. Game lasts for 6 battle rounds. So something a little bit different this time is it's kind of an objective grab, but it's working in a slightly different way, and it really is going to result in a huge killing field in the center of the battlefield there with absolute chaos reigning in the middle. But this is it. This is the battle that determines the ultimate fate of the planet, and we've got here Space Marines victory. I think this is just something to read. If the Space Marines win right at the end, then you would read this, and then we've got Death Guard victory, something to read if the Death Guard win. That's quite cool. A little way to round out your narrative adventures, to actually have something to read to say, yep, these guys won in the end. And that's it, all done. That is everything. And then, that's quite nice. Right at the end, your conquest is complete. They've done a little page there of every single cover of every single magazine that you've got throughout the course of the subscription. Oh, the nostalgia. Oh, but that's it. That's the end. That really is everything that there is for this series. It's the first Partworks magazine that I've ever been a part of where the publishers haven't extended the run. They haven't got towards the end and gone, well, we're going to put another 20 or 30 issues on the end of this. This is it. There will be no more. What I'm going to do is what I've done in every other video up to this point. I'm going to do a little running total. It's the cost of subscribing to the magazine and paying the cover price every week versus the cost of purchasing all the products that have come with the magazine at retail. That's full retail price, so not taking into account any online discounts, but also I'm not taking into account the cost of the magazine itself or any subscriber benefits. And hopefully some people will find that useful. And because this is the final issue, this is the final video in this series, we can see what our total final spend was and also how much we saved overall. In total, it worked out a spend of around £632.21. That is not taking into account any additional purchases for binders, or there was a paint guide, there was a source book for the Silver Templars, there was an art book, and there was a novella which I reviewed in a previous video as well. All of those were additional purchases that added to the overall subscription cost. But if you just paid for the magazines, you're looking at £632.21. And over the course of the series, you saved on cover products around £444.59 over the full retail value. Now, that's not a 100% accurate figure. For a start, some of the magazines included products that came from starter sets, so I had to sort of break out starter sets and average out values. The other thing is that issue 5 had an exclusive miniature that was never been available for retail, so I had to kind of work out a value for that. And also, I believe that at some point during the subscription period, the price of Games Workshop paints went up. So if you were to start this subscription now, the savings would probably be a little bit more because the price of paints increased at some point. So it's not a 100% accurate figure, but it's a figure that I am happy with and that I'm happy reflects the overall value of this magazine, which I feel has been a very good subscription. The magazine in general has been good. Some of the scenarios got a little bit samey towards the end. There was a lot of objective grabs, but the painting guides were uniformly good. The overall value was good. There were a few issues where they just chucked out a pot of paint or something, and those were not good value on their own, but as part of the subscription as a whole, the value was there. It's been a really good way of teaching Warhammer 40,000. I think they have stepped through the rules in a really good way. And yeah, I think it has been a worthwhile subscription, and I have a huge amount of plastic now to build and paint. While Conquest magazine has ended, Hachette Publishing have started a similar publication for the Age of Sigmar setting. It's called Mortal Realms, and they're accepting subscriptions for that at the moment. I will not be covering that on my channel because I've kind of done 80 issues of this now, and I feel like if I was to do another similar magazine, it might start to feel very samey. I'm probably going to end up saying a lot of the same things, and while I like Age of Sigmar, I'm not as keen on it as I am on 40k, and I don't really feel I need to expand my Age of Sigmar collection to the degree where I subscribe to an 80-issue series of magazines. But I guess that's it. I don't really have anything else to say. If you have stuck with me with this series up to now, thank you so much. If you have liked the video, please consider pressing the like button. If you really like the video, please consider subscribing if you don't already do so. And hopefully, I will see you all again very soon for whatever happens next. Bye bye everyone. Bye bye.